off to the right, and that's got Doc laughing. Good to see you, man.
It's good to see you guys, too. Thanks for having me.
I know that John's excited to talk to you, Dwight, about the state of pitching in today's game, but just to go back to the pregame ceremony, that was so moving and special here tonight.
Well, that was fun to share with the fans, because I don't think the fans really are aware of the energy they brought us in '86 and the excitement they brought us, with the curtain calls and all that. So it was just a great time and good to see all the players as well.
Here's Rivera, who makes the play out in front of the plate. When you came up and you burst onto the scene, I can't think of anybody who burst onto the scene like you as a 19-year-old. Is that hard for you now to think back of all that you were hit with coming to New York, and here's a 19-year-old kid that's just dominant?
At the time when you go through, you're not really aware of the things you're accomplishing. You're just living a dream. And I had some good veteran players around me, like Keith Hernandez. He was like a pitching coach on the field. They helped me a lot. And I think, honestly, growing up as a kid, my dad coached softball and semi-pro baseball. And I used to play with those guys. Playing with older guys definitely helped. Even though, it was a different name on the back of the jersey once you got to the big leagues. But I was just living a dream and just enjoying the moment.
Did he just kick him out? He threw behind Utley. Did they just kick Syndergaard out?
They did. That's the one.
That's unbelievable. Adam Hamari is the home plate umpire. He didn't even hit him.
Well, but that's what happens when, it's so much talked about and you put somebody on notice. And this umpire took matters into his own hands, which is the wrong thing to do, in my opinion. If you want to warn him, that's one thing. But he just decided the first thing that was going to be close, and because it's behind him, I think exaggerated the situation.
Wow. I mean, you lose Noah Syndergaard in this game for that?
Yeah, that's not right. Like you said, John, he didn't hit him. I mean, he threw behind him. I think a warning could be issued, but you can't toss a guy for that.
And now Collins is out. He couldn't care less, but Collins is going to get his money's worth. And Collins, in my opinion, is right. That's ridiculous.
But the replays, they should have replays on this. We can redo that.
I've always said that. I always say that you should be able to look at a situation. If somebody overreacts and does the wrong thing, the umpires should be able to get together and go, hey, that was wrong.
That was wrong.
Let's keep him in.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
He just got kicked out for that. Now, there's the history, obviously, with Utley. With last year in the postseason, Collins is still going at it, and he's moved his argument over to the crew chief, Tom Hallion. But in today's game, I mean, they've taken it away from the players, and they're, to some degree, okay. But when you're stepping in and basically forcing the hand here and kicking somebody out, you're overreaching here.
And you know what you're doing, which no one thinks about as an umpire at the time? You just made it worse. So now it's going to happen again. And instead of it being over, instead of being the situation all done, put the warnings. They've now did exactly what you said, taking it out of the player's hand. The emotions are now at the highest they're going to be. And he made a poor judgment. He made a mistake. And unfortunately, that mistake is going to cost possibly the Mets a win. And unfortunately, I wish they could redo it.
Yes.
I mean, you've got paying fans in here on a special night for the Mets, and they get the bonus of watching Syndergaard pitch. Here's the history. Game 2, division series, the slide that forced a rule change. At first, it was a 2-game suspension that was overturned without even a hearing by Joe Torre during the offseason. They changed the rule. Okay, you're waiting for something. We talked about it first time. He throws behind him. You know who's not upset is Utley. He doesn't care. He didn't get hit. And now Syndergaard's out.
Yeah, Utley's been around for a while. He took that like he's supposed to take it. And now, like you say, it's a professional. Now you got a big crowd here to watch Syndergaard. And I know once I'm done the interview, I'm leaving after this too. I can't stand watching. So
it's frustrating. And, John, you two guys, you're talking about it. I mean, that's something that should be handled between players, right?
Yes, I think the pressure handled on the field. And like when we played, different things happen where one of your guys may get hit, and you might hit the number 3 or number 4 hitter. But it was expected. You didn't try to hurt a guy. You didn't hit him below the belt. I mean, higher than the belt. You hit him in the thigh or something like that, and the game continued to play.
Yeah, and I've been part of a situation like that. I probably hit the fewest guys of anybody in the history of 3,000 innings or more. I just didn't hit a lot of guys. And when I hit a guy to protect a teammate, no warning, he threw me out. And I threw the umpire out immediately after that, by the way. I said, no, you're out of the game. And I said, what you did is you just caused a brawl. You don't know it yet, but you just caused a brawl. It was over.
Yes.
The player didn't have a problem. He understood. this has happened now. We've talked about the Toronto situation. They waited to the last at bat, and then you saw what happened there, slide into second. But this right here is really unfortunate for the umpire to take that. You know they were on alert. You know they were told about it, but just warn them. Just warn the player, warn the team, keep them in the game.
It's in the game, yes.
Well, let's talk while right-hander gets loose. See who this is. It just came into the ball game. That's Verrett. Logan Verrett takes over. But, I mean, that is a hot dugout right now for the Mets. And they have every reason to be upset. And Syndergaard, these fans don't get to see him pitch. But let's talk about 86. That team was so fun to watch from a distance, Doc. And you talked about Keith Hernandez. When he came to this organization, the New York Mets, you had a leader on the field and a guy who really handled his business over there. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because we're going to talk to him in a minute. He was like a coach for you on the field.
Oh, Keith was great. And the thing I admire most about Keith, even if he was struggling, wasn't doing well, he still was on top of the guys. If the guys on deck, he was telling them what the pitcher had. If I was on the mound, he was telling about different guys you pitch around, about certain situations. He was always into the game. So, like you said, he was like a hitting coach on the field, and like my second pitching coach, Mel Stottlemyre. I
know you want to talk to Doc about, all this conversation about pitch count, innings count, young guys. And when you think about the way you came into the big leagues, your second year was over 270 innings pitched.
Yes, I had my second year. I had 16 complete games, 8 shutouts. And you didn't think so much about pitch count. Right. You felt good, because I think these guys get caught up, in my opinion, they get caught up so much of pitch counts where, and John, there's a difference with throwing 80 pitches in 3 innings opposed to throwing 80 pitches in 7 or 8 innings. It's totally different, where they're caught on, 100 pitches. Guy gets 7 innings in. They already have the bullpen up no matter how you're throwing. I don't understand. I just don't get it.
And you did it with 2 pitches, two fantastic pitches. I got to ask you, there's a story I heard, and see if you can verify or not. Game in Houston. You like to get there early. You walk to the park and jump the fence to try to get in?
It's a true story. What happened was my rookie year. It was my first big league start. My parents was there. It was a night game, and I was so nervous. Well, I had lunch with my parents, and then the bus wasn't until 5 o'clock. It was about 3 o'clock, and I just ran out of patience. So I asked concierge, how do you get to the ballpark? And he told me it was about a 2-mile walk. I walked to the Astrodome. First time there, I didn't know how to get in, so I jumped the fence, like an 8-foot fence, climbed the fence. Obviously, security came. I told him I was pitching tonight. He said, if you're pitching tonight, I own the club. So I showed him my ID. He called upstairs and all that stuff. And about 30 minutes later, they let me in. But I've never been so nervous in my life. But it's a true story.
Well, there's plenty of emotion now, both on the field, in that dugout, and I guess you could add in the seats, as Verrett throws a strike, 1 ball, 1 strike on Utley, who had that first pitch go behind him from Syndergaard. And that was the end of the night for Noah Syndergaard. Well, that's one way to limit his innings and his pitches.
Yeah, you're right.
That comes with an assist from Adam Hamari, the home plate umpire.
Well, Doc was indirectly part of one of my greatest learning life lessons in pitching at Shea Stadium. I decided I was going to pitch like Tom Glavine. And what I mean is I was not going to exert. I wasn't going to sweat. I was going to paint.
This one's painted over the outside corner, and Utley strikes out.
The crowd's going to be at an all-time level right now as you're looking at a great pitch on the outside part of the plate that freezes Utley. But I decided that's what I was going to be. I was tired of working so hard. I was tired of trying to get effort that wasn't matching the results. Doc went 3 for 3 off me and hit a home run that day and knocked me out in the 6th
inning. He could hit.
And and as I came in, Glav goes, "Hey, how'd that work for you?" I said, "I'll never try to pitch like you again."
No.
Here is Seager, strike 1.
You just get lucky. You swing it hard, and you're facing a guy like this anyway. You know it's going to be a challenge. And you don't have much to work with. You can't give up any runs, and like you say, you just
but you could hit. It was
one, and
I'll never forget it.
There was such an athletic move that you made on the mound. I was just watching some of the highlights. I mean, it was legs, it was arms, and you had that look before you started. I mean, you put everything you had, it seemed like, into every pitch you threw.
I did. My dad taught me at a young age about pitching, and I wish before he passed away I could ask him where did he get his knowledge from, because he taught me about pitching, and my nephew, Gary Sheffield, he taught him about hitting. And I'll tell you a quick story about Gary if we have time, but he taught me about balance and all these different things, and I just put it all together with mechanics. I paid the price for it later because I had surgery on my foot from all the hard pounding. About 3 years ago, I had to get a pin put in there. But other than that, everything's been fine. But he taught me the mechanics, taught me the curveball as well.
I got to ask you, were you, when you grew up, did you play multiple sports? You look very athletic, and it looks like you didn't play baseball year-round, or did you?
No, back then, we play all sports. You play basketball when basketball's in. You play football when football's in, and as well as baseball. Baseball's always the number one sport, but I like football and I like basketball as well. So we played all sports, and I enjoyed that. I know now kids, they saying, well, you got to play one sport. Like, I have an 11-year-old son. He's pretty big. He's 5'6", with a size 11 shoe. And the coach told his mom, we just want him to play basketball year-round and work on it. I said, well, have him call me. He's not playing basketball.
Good. That's the best advice
He's playing whatever he
anybody out
wants.
there could get.
Yes.
Seager looking for another hit. Hits it just foul down the left field line. You come up in 84. You're 19 years old. You're the unanimous Cy Young in 1985. But then in 1986, you guys win it all in one of the best World Series this country has ever seen.
Well, that was great. And I felt bad for Buckner because he had a great career. And just to be remembered for that one play was really tough. And he's a great guy. But like you mentioned, that was one of the greatest World Series that happened, especially after losing the first 2 games at home. But even in Houston, that Game 6 was incredible. Yeah. I mean, people forget about that game, which Game 6 was really our Game 7 because we wanted no part of Mike Scott.
Yeah, Mike Scott was filthy.
And he was so mentally into our hitter's head that they was more concerned about catching him cheating than trying to get a hit off of him.
0-2 is the count on Seager, and that's a strike over the inside corner. My friend, it's good to see you, man.
Thank you guys for having me.
Congratulations on a fun night.
Thank you.
You're deserving of all that.
Thank you. All right, buddy.
Thanks
Good to
for
see
joining us.
All right, you guys.
The great Dwight Gooden. How about that little flashback for you with Mike Tyson? No score in this one.